Hello, happiness abounders, and welcome back. You already know the theme week. It's all about emotional self-care. So let's dive right into today's episode, which is all about expression over suppression. Yesterday, I spoke a little bit about how we need to sit in our emotions because we were never really taught that negative emotions are okay. So instead, we buffer them out. Today, I want to take this to that next level in talking about how expression of emotions versus suppression of emotions can really be a true act of emotional self-care. And here's what I mean. When we can express our emotions in a positive, non-harmful way, we can get them up and out of us and we can move on. When we suppress them, we pretty much compile them, trash compactor if you will, but we never clean them out. So we live with them and they continue to come back and haunt us. Now, which one of those sounds more like self-care? Releasing emotions and being able to move forward with your life, or suppressing and compacting them until they just keep on coming back? I think we're on the same page here if you said that the self-care one is the expression techniques, right? It's the ability to let these things go. But here's the real issue. It's really hard for us to let go of things like anger. And if we track backwards, it's hard for us to let go of emotions if we aren't aware of them. That was Monday's episode. And it's hard for us to let go of emotions if we can't sit in them and let them be there and be okay to be there. Then we can express them and get them out of our system and have that as the full functioning form of emotional self-care. So if we've sat in it and we said, I feel angry and that's okay, being able to sit in that is fantastic. Next step is now to express it. Now, again, this is where it gets tricky. I do not mean go and express your anger to the next person you see. I used to feel like if I was expressing my emotions to someone, that was a full form of expression. But what I found was it just really fueled my fire. Or a couple of things would happen. One, the person would be totally on my side and I would feel completely justified in these emotions and I'd feel like I had support, and so I kept on wanting to feel them. And then I felt like I was like pseudo bonding with that other person because they agreed with me and they were on my side. Second option that would happen is I would explain all this stuff and this person would be much more emotionally aware than I was, and they'd be like, oh, okay, that's rough, and let it go at that. And so it was like, oh, and then I'd get in my own head, am I over exaggerating? Does this person not like me? Like, I'm already in this angry mode and now I'm angry at this person because they didn't support me, and support is in air quotes because they totally did. They let me rant and rave, but they didn't really buy into my emotional stories, which is great. That's a form of self-care for them, emotional self-care for them, but I didn't see it that way. And then the third is they completely tell you you're wrong, and then you get mad at them, or you have emotions, negative emotions towards them. And the cycle continues. So when I say expression over suppression, that's when we need to talk about how we can express our emotions in a positive release way, in a way that doesn't hurt other people, in a way that doesn't get other people bought in and on our emotional stories inside, in a way that doesn't leave us angry at other people. One thing that's really and truly interesting about emotions is that we tend to want to blame other people because of these emotions. But the truth of the matter is that your emotions are truly and wholly yours. So when we look to express to external sources, it's not a true form of expression because the source is still internal. So you're just expressing it to get it out to someone else, but you're not expressing it to get it out of you. I'll say that again. You can express it to get it out to someone else, but you never express it to get it out to you by going that path. So I want to share a few expression techniques today that we can do as a form of positive emotional self-care to release these negative emotions in a positive manner that doesn't really involve anybody else. So I'm sure you can guess what my first one is. Journaling. Journal, journal, journal. Like, holy cow, if you are not journaling, you are suppressing emotions instead of expressing emotions. Now I get it. It takes time to write. You feel like you have to do it at night and you're too tired by the end of the day to do it. Or you feel like it has to be handwritten and not necessarily typed on the computer. You feel like it has to be a novel of everything that you're feeling instead of a few short sentences. Whatever stories you have in your mind about journaling, throw them out the window. Because whatever these stories are that say it's too hard or there's all these rules around it, those are lies. Your brain is lying to you. It's really as easy as saying, I am angry, and I'm angry because, and just getting it out on paper in your journal or typing it up and getting it out. It's as simple as that. It doesn't need to be a novel with every detail unless you want it to be. It doesn't need to be done every night before bed when you're exhausted and it's just one more chore. You can find the time that works for you, but you have to find that time for expression because otherwise we are suppressing. And that is not emotional self-care. So first one is journaling. Put all those rules out the window and just try it. Second one is really sitting in those emotions, but then also doing what I call slaying, which is to write out your emotions and the stories that accompany it. So I am fearful because, and write out every story that comes to your mind. And then what you're going to do is actually, instead of keeping that in your journal, you are going to rip it up and throw it away. And the point of that is to get these emotions up and out of you and away, thrown in the garbage. Okay? Emotional release technique number 3 is to really, it's interesting because I tend to go to writing techniques, but you can go out into a field. Go yell at a tree, yell at a rock. Get all those emotions out in a positive space, right? And I don't mean positive as in like outdoor space, but if you can be outside, you can be alone. No one can hear you. You're not doing it at anyone. Get it out that way. Vocally, let it go. Right? Scream, shout, cry, throw a tantrum if that's what you need to do to release and express these emotions. Beyond the hey, I'm going to go tell my friend that this whole story happened and how upset I am, we do not express our emotions. We don't. We don't say, when somebody says, hey, how are you doing today? And you don't say, actually, I'm really sad. Something happened and I'm working through it, but I'm pretty sad today. We don't say that. We don't say, I'm angry. And here's the biggest part. Again, we don't necessarily need to say that to other people, but we need to have that level of emotional awareness for ourselves. But we don't say it to ourselves. We don't say, I'm sad. Instead, we get on Facebook. We don't say, I'm angry. Instead, we turn on Netflix, which goes back to the buffering things that we spoke about yesterday. We don't express our own emotions. So, quick recap. Expression over suppression is the ultimate form of emotional self-care, but it must be done in a way that is constructive and positive and not further holding on to emotions or bringing other people into your emotional stories. So 3 techniques to do that are 1, journaling, 2, slaying with your emotions, which is I am angry because, and writing the stories that accompany that, then rip it up and throw it in the garbage. And then 3, going out into a field, yelling at a tree, yelling at a rock, doing whatever you need to do where you are alone and you have the full capacity to express your emotions vocally and physically, right? Any of those 3 will be a great asset in your emotional release and emotional self-care toolbox. So I'm going to talk a little bit more tomorrow about the buffering aspects. I've kind of glazed over those this week, and I really want to dive in further about why we buffer and what we can do to not buffer. So be sure to tune in for tomorrow's episode. But in the meantime, if this episode resonated with you, please let me know. Rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, whatever they're calling it these days, or you can even leave a review on Facebook. Or you can send me a direct message. That's at happinessabound.com. On Facebook, it's Happiness Abound blog. And on Instagram, it's happiness_abound. So I hope this episode resonated and is helpful for you as you explore expression over suppression. And in the meantime, above everything else, remember, you are capable of happiness abound.